Hello Misfits and welcome. In today's video we are talking about 5 broken magic items in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And when I say broken, I just mean that the way that the items are designed might somewhat upset the balance of the game. I don't mean that you should never use them in any of your games. These are all things that I have used in my games or have included without changing them whatsoever. So just sort of a fun list for today's video. Let's get into it. So my goal for this one is to start at a lower rarity and sort of amp it up as we go. So for number 1, I picked the Robe of Useful items. This is one that maybe doesn't pop up in a lot of people's games, but I do think that it can be a little bit broken. It really gives the players quite the advantage if they get this item early. It is only an uncommon level of rarity, but basically it's a robe. It has cloth patches of various shapes and colors all over it, and while wearing the robe you can use an action to detach one of the patches and it becomes the object or creature or whatever that it represents. Once all the patches are removed, it just becomes a regular cloak. But some of these patches are pretty great to have, especially if you encounter this early. There are some patches that are always on the robe, like the robe always has 2 of the following: dagger, a bullseye lantern, steel mirror, 10-foot pole, hempen rope, or a sack. But then you can roll to see what other patches are on this robe. So in addition, the robe has 44 other patches, and the GM chooses the patches or determines them randomly. And there's a wide variety here. You can just have like bags of gold or silver coffers. You can get doors that if you place them in the opening, they will fill the opening, and you can use them like normal doors. There are gems that could be on here, ladders, a full-on riding horse with saddlebags. You could have a pit that you can place on the ground. It becomes a pit on the ground. Potions of healing, a rowboat, spell scrolls, mastiffs, windows, portable rams. There are a bunch of different items on here, and a lot of these are super useful or could really give you like an impressive buff and really help you if you're in a bind. So that is why the Robe of Useful items is number 1 on this list. Number 2, an obvious pick, is the Bag of Holding. So the Bag of Holding is only an uncommon rarity, which honestly does surprise me. But yeah, most of us know what the Bag of Holding is. It's larger on the inside than it is on the outside. It's an extra dimensional space that you can store stuff in. It's not unlimited storage, but it's incredibly useful. The reason why the Bag of Holding ends up on most people's lists of broken items is that if you place a Bag of Holding inside of another Bag of Holding or inside of a handy haversack or a portable hole, some sort of other extra dimensional space, it will create a gate to the astral plane. It basically kind of like causes a paradox. It sort of destroys itself, or it and the other item or whatever it's placed into. They destroy themselves and they open a gate to the astral plane, and basically if you're there with this bag, it's gonna suck you into that gate, dump you into the astral plane, and then disappear, and you're stuck there. And that could break a campaign. I have heard stories of campaigns that get broken because of this, because the players weren't aware, they accidentally did it, and boom. Now you've got to probably rewrite a good chunk of your campaign as you try to figure out how to get your players out of the astral plane and back on track with the story. But that's why this is on most people's list. It's certainly why it's on my list. But you could probably easily exploit this aspect of this item within your campaign. I mean, say it is later campaign and your players have plane shift and they know about this part of a Bag of Holding, how it could create a gate to the astral plane, but they need to get to the astral plane. They could get there without burning a spell slot and then just plane shift back, you know? There's certainly ways to work in that aspect of the item into a campaign, which makes it even more interesting. But yeah, it can be broken, but in kind of like a fun way. Like, not, you know. Number 3 is also a common choice. It is the Immovable Rod. It's also only uncommon rarity, which again surprises me. To me, this is uncommon because whoever created it probably didn't think it all the way through. You know, like I can just imagine. Oh yeah, it's like a rod. It just stays where you put it, and yeah, it doesn't move. There's no way that could get exploited or be horrible in any way. Yeah, but when you start thinking about where you could put that immovable rod that won't move, that's when things get a little dicey. So yeah, if you're unaware, the Immovable Rod. Flat iron rod has a button on one end. You can use an action to press the button, which causes the rod to become magically fixed in place. Until you or another creature uses an action to push the button again, the rod does not move. Even if it is defying gravity, the rod can hold up to 8,000 pounds of weight. More weight causes the rod to deactivate and fall. A creature can use an action to make a DC 30 strength check, moving the fixed rod up to 10 feet on a success. So this just, when you think about where you can put it, it can be crazy. I think a lot of us are probably aware of what Vox Machina did with an immovable rod. I will not spoil it for those that aren't aware, but they found a very creative, shall we say, placement of the immovable rod. And, yeah, it had an impact. It had an effect. But I mean, think about where you can put this. You could put this in the path of a carriage. You could put it in the hull of an enemy ship. You could place it in the mouth of a monster. You can use it. If you had 2, then you could use one after another like a ladder. There are just endless uses of this, which are amazing. And really the limit is just your imagination, and I think that's why this item is favored. And I think maybe we want it to stay uncommon because it's sort of like a, I don't know, it's a great entry into how much your creative imagination can impact the game and how it plays out. Because like, base value, you read this and you might not think of the crazy stuff you can do with it. And then when you start like thinking about it and delving into that, then it sort of unlocks what these TTRPGs are, which is just sort of this landscape and playground for your imagination. Number 4, I bet this isn't on a lot of y'all's lists. Now we're amping up the rarity just a little bit. We're going to talk about the Horn of Valhalla. So the Horn of Valhalla actually comes in a couple different levels of rarity, but we're just looking at the first 2. So it comes in silver, brass, bronze, and iron. And what color it is, or what type it is, affects how rare it is. Bronze and iron are very rare, but silver and brass are just plain old rare. And this horn can be devastating, honestly. I have been on the wrong end of the Horn of Valhalla, and I will never forget the experience. But basically, you can use an action to blow the horn, and in response, warrior spirits from Valhalla appear within 60 feet of you. They use the statistics of a berserker, and they return to Valhalla after 1 hour, or when they drop to 0 hit points. Once you use the horn, it can't be used again until 7 days have passed. That's insane. Berserkers are nothing to sneeze at, too, I should say. A berserker has 67 hit points. They can attack recklessly and have all the advantages of being reckless. And they use a great axe, which uses a d12 plus 3 slashing damage. So it's it's gonna hurt if you're the GM and you're suddenly up against a bunch of berserkers, you're in trouble. Here's where it gets kind of worse. So, the silver, the lowest tier of the Horn of Valhalla, you can summon 2d4 plus 2 berserkers. That alone is upsetting. Because you could potentially summon 10 berserkers. That's crazy. You could potentially summon 10 allies with 67 hit points. That's crazy. The brass horn, which is still rare, is 3d4 plus 3. I was on the receiving end of the brass Horn of Valhalla. This happened in a Halloween one-shot. You can actually watch it on our channel. It's called A Night to Remember. It's filled with a bunch of inside jokes, so sorry about that. I told my players, very naively, you can, when you're creating your characters for this Halloween one-shot, you can pick 1 rare item and 2 uncommon. Doesn't matter to me. That was a mistake. I should have checked all of the items that they were gonna pick because we came up against this, and my monster was suddenly faced against, I think it was 12 berserkers. The only sort of check and / balance on this is that the upper types of horn types, brass, bronze, iron, require certain things. You have to meet certain requirements in order to use the horn. You have to be, for the brass one, you have to be proficient with all simple weapons. Not a huge requirement. The bronze one, just 44 plus 4. Proficient with all medium armor. Not hard to meet for a lot of characters. And then the iron horn is 5d4 plus 5, and you have to be proficient with all martial weapons. Yeah, it's, this will immediately upset any balanced encounter that you have created. But man, it was hilarious when it happened in our Halloween game. It was so funny. I was shocked. But now when we do one shots like that, I'm like, all right, you have to run the item by me. I have to at least like verbally consent to the use of such an item in one of our games. Yeah, this seems a little broken to me. I know it's rare, but still, just 10 67 hit point allies just being summoned like that. No requirement for that one, by the way. And they're just surrounding your enemy and fighting on your side, and they're there for a full hour. Like, combat doesn't last more than like seconds, maybe a little over a minute. A full hour of that's insane. That's absolutely insane. All right, the last one on this list, and this is probably one that I think would be on just about everybody's list. Now we are bumping up to legendary rarity, and we're talking about Sovereign Glue. Most people are aware of Sovereign Glue. Most people understand that this can break a game, can break a campaign. I've also been on the wrong side of Sovereign Glue. But, yeah, Sovereign Glue. It's a form of permanent adhesive. It can create a permanent bond between any two objects. When found, a container contains 1d6 plus 1 ounces. 1 ounce of the glue can cover a 1 foot square surface. The glue takes 1 minute to set. Once it is done so, the bond it creates can be broken only by the application of universal solvent or oil of etherealness, or with a wish spell. Buh. I read up on this item. I was aware of it when I decided to put it in one of my games, and I thought that it would just be fun to include. I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. I'll just stick it in a magic shop and we'll see what they do with it. I gave it to my players honestly, like, kind of early-ish. I think they were 6th level, maybe? Maybe 7th. And, so what got me is that my players, they got it. They got the glue, and then they went so long without using it that I forgot they had it. And then they pulled it out at, like, the worst possible time for me. And it literally almost ended the campaign, because they took, like, a campaign crucial item, glued it to the inside of a lead-lined box so it couldn't be, like, located, and then they glued the box to the floor of a vault that had armed guards on it. It was a whole thing. And this item that they were hiding and used this glue with, they were at the same time crafting a means of destroying the item. So I was on this timetable of trying to figure out how to undo this. I had like 3 in-game days to figure out where this item was, figure out how to get it out of this situation, and sort of turn the tables again, and all while trying to figure out a means of accomplishing that without being like sort of metagamey about it. It was very complicated. But yeah, Sovereign Glue can totally mess you up, because again, this is like, if you've got creative players, you're screwed. They're gonna find a creative means of this that's going to upset your plans. So don't put this in a game unless you're prepared to, you know, battle the chaos it will create. Unless you're prepared for a challenge. But it can be so entertaining and so fun to have this in a game. Like, the chaos it could cause is very much worth it, in my opinion. I will mention, so obviously there were some things that didn't get talked about in this list. So let's go over some honorable mentions. Number 1 honorable mention would be anything that grants flying. Every time I look at a list of broken magic items, it almost always lists a broom of flying, or winged boots, or a carpet of flying. I didn't include this on my list because I don't know, maybe it's just me, I've never had that much of an issue with players having the ability to fly. I know that really bugs some DMs. They're like, flying breaks the game. They don't like it. They don't allow like Aarakocras and flying, you know, races and stuff. I get how that can be difficult, you know? Because suddenly you're having to plan in 3 dimensions rather than just 2, and that can get very complicated. The game itself is not mechanically super well suited to dealing with flying. I get that. I've personally just been super chill about flying, though. In my current campaign, there is a character that can fly. They're like an owl person, so that's fine. In my last campaign, they had a flying ship, so that was, you know, I was super cool with that. And then in my Curse of Strahd campaign, I gave them a broom of flying fairly early in the campaign. They often forgot about it, but I gave it to them nonetheless. So I've always been super chill with flying, so that's why I didn't actually put it on the list. But I do acknowledge how that would really upset a lot of DMs and GMs with their playstyle and how they plan the game out. So the other item that is on my honorable mention that is on most people's broken magic items list is the Deck of Many Things. I did not include this on my list because the way the Deck of Many Things is designed and described and set out almost feels a little bit dated in terms of how a lot of tables play these days. I feel like it's a growing trend of all the players at the table to be the same level, and for tables to sort of gravitate maybe more towards a milestone. I know the XP versus milestone leveling system is still a hot debate for a lot of people, but I do see milestone getting sort of an uptick in the trendiness of using that. And some of these cards are very much centered around gaining or losing XP. And so that almost makes it kind of hard to put the deck of many things into, most games. Like if you use Milestone, you're not tracking XP, so some of these cards would be useless or they would need to be changed. And so that's why it's not actually on my list. I do acknowledge it is absolutely broken, but it's designed to be broken. And I really do want to put the deck of many things into one of my games. I have to have my own version of it though. And I have been working on that. I've been trying to make alternatives to some of these cards that cause you to lose XP and stuff. Now, most of the losing XP, they don't want you to change your level. They want you to keep just enough XP to keep your level. But it says nothing about if the cards that cause you to gain XP causes you to level up, which implies that the deck could make you different levels from each other, which I find very weird. I don't really like that setup. At least the way the deck is laid out, just as is, the vanilla deck of many things, I could not put it in any of my games. I would need to alter it. But that's why it's not on my list, but for sure it's gonna get an honorable mention. It's designed to be broken. As I said earlier, it is absolutely designed to be broken. There's no way it couldn't be on somebody's list. But it just, the way it's set up is just a little weird. I just don't think it sort of lends itself to be used, at least right now. But maybe I'll finish tweaking my own version and I'll stick it in a game here. We'll see. So that's my list, my list of 5 broken magic items. I hope this was, entertaining for you guys. I'd be very interested to know, what you consider broken or what would be on your list. There are other items that could definitely be on here that I didn't put on here. There are definitely some campaign-specific items that I didn't put on here. There are some items that were added from Tasha's that I did not include that certainly are worthy of being on anybody's list. But I would love to hear from you guys and hear what's on y'all's lists. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. All of that helps. More importantly, comment down below. And with all of that said and done, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and I will see you again next time. So I am super excited because very, very soon, next weekend soon, I am going to a Ren Fair. I'm so pumped. I went to my first ever Ren Fair last year. I took some pictures, some short little videos and stuff. I talked about it a little bit at the end of one of these types of videos. I'm going to another one with the same friends I went with last time, and I'm super pumped about it. I do believe I will be making some sort of video talking about it, talking about the one I'm going to, some of the stuff that I'm going to experience, talking about my outfit and stuff. I'm pumped. I actually made my outfit myself because I don't know how to take the easy route of anything. I taught myself how to sew and use a sewing machine, and I made my outfit, and I'm very, very proud of it. So I will definitely make some sort of video talking about that and talking about, my experience, hopefully taking some pictures and videos and clips and stuff and all of that. So be on the lookout for that. If any of you have frequented Ren fairs or have a favorite that you like to go to, let me know. I'd be super curious. Because I imagine they'd probably be different. Last year I went to the one in Tennessee, but I'm going to a different one this year. So I'd be interested to hear which ones you guys go to. Maybe I'll get to visit that one day and, expand my Ren Fair horizons, because I had such a blast last time. They just seem like the funnest places to go. It's just everybody always seems so nice and happy, and it just seems like a delightful experience across the board. But anyway, that's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Until next time.